camera's going back and forth. Hi. Okay. So, past couple of videos I've done have been medical stuff. And this one's going to be a medical one, but this is going to be a lot less me being angry or happy and crying or frustrated. This one's more of... Okay. The best way I can put this is, I started watching Markiplier quite a few years ago. And through Markiplier, I ended up finding this woman, this awesome woman, who's a fan of his, called RainbowUnicorn Queen. And then through her, I found this woman called Joy Sparkle BS. And I'm going to set what I'm playing with now. And I've kind of become addicted to watching her videos because she is just intense sometimes. But one of the things she has been talking about quite a bit more lately, thanks to her health getting better, has been her health issues. And her health issues seem to be stemming from birth control. If you want to know more about her and that, I'd suggest go watching her videos on that. But for me, I am going to be talking about my bad experience with the birth control. I guess I want to say I am fortunate enough that with my experience with the bad birth control wasn't as serious as Joy's, but it wasn't good either. So I got put on birth control because of a medical reason. I get ovarian cysts, and if I'm not on birth control, I will most likely lose an ovary. That said and done, I was taking this name brand, specific birth control that my OBGYN put me on. He picked this brand. I don't know for what reason, but he did, and it worked. And I never felt sick on it. I never felt bad. I think I gained a little bit of water weight, but it's really hard to tell. And I was doing great on it. Then, one day, my pharmacy decides, out of the blue, no warning, not asking, to just put me on a generic birth control. After I had been on the same birth control for 2 years. 2 years. They just put me on a random generic brand. Okay. I was like, okay, it's cheaper, it's free. Let's take it. Within 2 weeks of taking this birth control, I'm gonna say right now I can look back on this and I can laugh. But during that point in time, I had no control over what I was doing. My hormones were just up, down, left, right, sideways, diagonal.
Going crazy.
Cattywampus. I remember a few things, but the main thing that I remember during that time was the sane voice in my head would be sitting there going, you look crazy and you need to stop. You need to call your doctor. You need to call the pharmacy. You need to call somebody. You need help. And I didn't, because I'm like, oh, it's cheaper. I'm just trying to get used to it. But I'll get to the reason why I changed going back to my name brand. So first, it started with me acting moodier.
That'd be a good way to put it.
He's looking for nice ways to say I went fuck nuts crazy.
At times, very quick mood shifts and changes.
Yeah, where I went from laughing manically to
possibly I could come back in the room and she's bawling her eyes out and crying.
Yeah, there were times where he would get up, go to the kitchen to get a glass of water, drink, And he would come back and I would have been manically laughing, stop laughing to just crying for no reason. I couldn't explain why I was crying. I couldn't explain why I was laughing. I looked like somebody who was extremely bipolar. And I'm only saying that because I know a few people who are bipolar and have mood swings like that. But nowhere near as bad as I was going, because mine were all super hormone based thanks to this birth control. So when it started to get really bad, I would just sit and stare at walls. Not talking. I wasn't crying. I wasn't depressed. I would just stare at walls. Or there was a time I grudge ate a pork chop. This is the best way I can describe what happened.
For whatever reason, she just wasn't mad that that's what we were eating, because she's the one that had asked us to make pork chops.
I was mad at the pork chop. I was not mad that we were eating pork chops. I wasn't mad at anybody for giving me a pork chop. I was mad at the pork chop.
The pork chop itself, I don't know what it did.
It did nothing to me. I was just mad at it. Or I don't remember what object it was, but I had an object. He had given me something to play with, or I had gotten something to play with, and I was playing with it, and it was doing exactly what it was supposed to do, but it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, so I got mad at it and threw it. I started crying at his cat one day. Like, I just looked at his cat, and his cat made me sad. His cat was laying there asleep, and I was sad because his cat was laying there sleeping. And I laugh at it now because, honestly, I can remember thinking in my head, you look crazy. You should not be allowed out of the house. You look crazy. You look like you should be on some heavy kind of medication. And it was all because I was on a birth control. A generic birth control. So, you know, my mom, my husband, everybody around me was just like, oh, her hormones are just going a little crazy. You know, she needs to sit there and take a month's worth of it, try to get through this. And then that's when two in a row, ovarian cysts popped. Now, for anybody who has never had a cyst pop, let alone an ovarian cyst pop, it pretty much feels like my entire insides are trying to rip themselves out. Alien. I'm going to connect this to the Alien movies. It's like a chest burster, only in my stomach. And 2 of them popped in a row. And it wasn't like a couple of days apart, it was a day apart. So we called up my OBGYN, I got on the phone, I'm crying, and they tell me the only thing I can do is call the pharmacy. I call the pharmacy, I tell the pharmacy what happened, and they were like, okay, you are no longer on that anymore. And a few times they've tried to give it to us, and we've told them, no.
That doesn't work.
No. So, the reason I bring this up is, to equate it back to the Joy Sparkle thing of, birth control isn't a bad thing, but you gotta know when your body is telling you something's wrong. I mean, the other thing about mine is I got depressed. I got suicidally depressed. Besides all the weird manic mood swings I was going through, there would be times where I was home alone and I was depressed and I wanted to kill myself because I was so violently depressed. And I didn't, thankfully. I didn't hurt myself, thankfully, but you gotta listen to your body. I mean, 2 weeks and I was becoming manic. That's a sign that birth control's hormones were really not right for me. So, You have to listen to your body. If your body is telling you there's something wrong, and you're on a birth control or you're taking some kind of medication, even if you're a guy and you're on some kind of medication and you don't feel right, I'm not saying completely get off of it. I'm saying call a doctor. Go to a doctor.
Very much contact your doctor and tell them what's going on.
Yeah, you don't have to make it. You don't have to make an appointment, but you gotta call and let them know something bad is happening with you. Don't just get off the medication either, because if I had gotten off the medication, then it would have just been my hormones swinging in a completely another direction. You have to listen to your body, and you have to tell your doctor what your body is telling you, so your doctor can try to help. And I got scared because, my husband got a new job with new insurance, and they didn't want to cover the birth control I was on. My name brand birth control, and I got terrified. So I went to my OBGYN. I talked to them. They said, call your insurance. I called the insurance. They told me he has to approve it. He said, no, that's not how it works. And I'm like, but this is what my insurance told me. And he's like, no, call up the pharmacy. Then call us back with the name of the generic they put you on, and we will keep you far away from this generic. After I did that, this was 2 days of a lot of stupid happening with that, but after that, they put me on a generic, and I've been fine. I mean, I got a little up and down because, of course, new hormones, changing. I don't know why my sides of my nostrils are so itchy, and I'm sorry. But if I hadn't have gone to my doctor and I just switched to a generic, I might have got put back on the generic. It's a little effort for a big payoff. Please. It
is very much worth it to put in that effort and make sure that you are going to be okay.
And I would show him, but he is... I've filmed 2 videos in succession, and he is...
currently off to the side, and I have a huge mess going on.
Yeah. There's a hot glue gun, there's super glue, there's bits and bobbles. He's making stuff. So that's my advice of, any medication, whether it's birth control or, medicine for your anxiety, medicine for your depression. If your body is telling you there's something wrong, you need to tell your doctor. Just getting off the medicine because you don't feel right, it could just have the side effects could just be you swinging in a complete opposite direction. I was manic, and I would get manically depressed, manically happy, and manically angry at pork chops and random objects that were doing exactly what they needed to do. So please, I can't stress this enough. If I hadn't gone through the whole craziness with talking to the insurance company, talking to the pharmacy, talking to my doctor, I could have been put on another birth control that could have just made it worse. It's simple. Simple conversation. But, I'll end there. And I guess until next time.